I never imagined that the life I built with her could collapse so quietly, so completely. Her name was Anaya, and for years, I believed in her with a certainty that was almost naive. We had a comfortable home, routines that fit like well-worn clothes, and a bond that everyone around us envied. I trusted her with everything, my heart, my secrets, my ambitions, and I believed she would protect that trust. I was wrong. The first hint of betrayal was subtle. A misplaced receipt on the kitchen counter, an unfamiliar name in a text, a glance she threw at her phone when I walked into the room. Each detail alone might have been innocent, but together they formed a pattern I could no longer ignore. I tried to reason with myself at first. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was reading too much into things. But deep down, I felt the knot in my stomach tighten every time I saw her smile. Every time her hand brushed mine, something was wrong. I began paying closer attention. I watched her habits, her movements, her interactions. I didn't confront her immediately. Confrontation would only alert her to the fact that I knew. I needed certainty first. What I discovered was worse than I could have imagined. Anaya had been living a double life, a series of lies that stretched across months, carefully concealed from me. The messages, the late-night calls, the sudden business trips that weren't business trips, they all added up to the betrayal I had feared. Pain surged, raw and immediate. My first instinct was anger, but I swallowed it. I realized that if I let rage take over, I would lose control. Revenge, I knew, was most satisfying when executed with patience, precision, and strategy. I wasn't going to lash out in the heat of the moment. I was going to make her lies catch up to her in a way that was inevitable, inescapable, and utterly undeniable. I started documenting everything. Dates, times, messages, receipts. I collected proof with meticulous care. Every detail she thought insignificant became ammunition. I kept a small notebook hidden in my drawer, innocuous to the casual eye but full of her deception. While doing this, I also focused on myself. I returned to the gym, rebuilt friendships I had neglected, and immersed myself in work projects I had set aside. I needed to be strong, steady, and unshakable when the moment came to act. I didn't rush. Weeks passed. I let her think she could continue undetected, that she could manipulate me and maintain her facade. But with every lie, I observed, I recorded, I planned. Her arrogance grew, fueled by the assumption that I remained oblivious. That arrogance would be her undoing. Then the day arrived. I invited her to dinner at home under the pretense of a quiet evening together. The apartment smelled like her favorite dishes. The table was set as if nothing had changed. And she arrived in her usual confident manner, unaware of the storm waiting for her. I slid the notebook across the table. Her smile faltered almost imperceptibly, and for the first time, I saw fear flicker in her eyes. I opened it and began reading aloud, not accusations, not yelling, just plain facts. Dates, times, messages, receipts, each one a fragment of the story she had tried so desperately to hide. I watched as her composed demeanor began to crumble. First came disbelief, then stammering denials, then frantic attempts to charm and manipulate. But the ledger of truth was unyielding. There was no way to argue with the evidence laid out in front of her. She tried every tactic she had used before, pleading, explaining, blaming me for overreacting. None of it worked. Each attempt only exposed more of her duplicity, more of her arrogance, and more of the trust she had destroyed. I realized in that moment that revenge is not about humiliation or spectacle. It's about restoring balance, reclaiming power, and refusing to be a victim of someone else's lies. After that evening, I set boundaries she could not ignore. I distanced myself emotionally, withdrew the tolerance I had given so freely, and rebuilt the spaces in my life that she had infiltrated with her deception. She tried to reach out, to apologize, to charm, but I remained steady. The house, once a shared space of comfort, became mine to inhabit with clarity and purpose. Her attempts at manipulation no longer had any effect because I had taken control back. Piece by piece, the revenge was subtle but devastating. She lost the safety she had relied on, the complicity that allowed her to lie without consequence. Her friends and acquaintances began to see cracks she could not hide, and the security she had taken for granted eroded quietly but inexorably. I never needed to publicize her mistakes or shame her in front of others. The consequence came from her own actions and the spaces she could no longer occupy without exposure. In the months that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. I reconnected with my passions, pursued opportunities I had set aside, and strengthened the relationships that mattered. The heartbreak that once threatened to consume me became a tool for growth, a reminder that trust is precious and that deception carries its own weight. I realized that revenge is not about hurting someone else, it's about reclaiming your life and refusing to let betrayal define you. Anaya's lies caught up to her, not through spectacle or rage, but through the quiet, relentless restoration of my own power. I had loved deeply, been deceived thoroughly, and yet I emerged stronger, wiser, and more self-assured. The ledger remained tucked away, a reminder of what had been hidden and what had been uncovered. Proof that patience and clarity can be more devastating than anger. The lesson I carried forward was simple but profound. Betrayal does not have to destroy you. It can awaken a strength you never knew existed, a capacity to observe, plan, and act with precision. My heartbreak became the catalyst for my revenge, not the theatrical kind, but the kind that restores dignity, asserts control, and ensures that deceit carries its inevitable consequence. In the end, I walked away not with vengeance in my heart, but with freedom in my hands. She had lied, and she had suffered not because I wanted her to, but because lies, left unchecked, have a way of returning to the one who told them. I reclaimed my life, rebuilt my world, and found a satisfaction deeper than anger, the satisfaction of knowing that truth, patience, and resolve are far stronger than deception, and that no betrayal can prevail against a heart that refuses to break.